The Apex Convention Center in Silicon Valley thrummed with the pulse of innovation, its vast halls alive with the flicker of LED screens showcasing prototypes that promised to reshape the world. The air was a heady mix of roasted coffee, the faint tang of overheated circuit boards, and the electric buzz of ideas colliding. Visionaries, entrepreneurs, and tech enthusiasts had gathered for a keynote fundraiser, a high-stakes event aimed at raising millions for STEM scholarships in underserved communities. At the center of it all stood Elon Musk, the titan of industry whose name was synonymous with audacity and progress. His presence electrified the room, his sharp quips and futuristic demos holding the audience in thrall. Then, at precisely 11:03 a.m., he vanished. For 20 enigmatic minutes, the man who had redefined entire industries was nowhere to be found. No trace, no explanation. Security teams swept the venue, their radios crackling with urgency. Alerts pinged across devices, and delegates whispered, their eyes darting to the deserted podium where Musk had stood moments before. Where had he gone? What could have pulled him from the epicenter of the tech world? When he returned, his sleeves slightly rumpled and a knowing smirk curling his lips, the truth unraveled. A revelation so profound it sent the crowd into a roaring ovation, a surge of awe that rivaled the launch of a SpaceX rocket. The Apex Convention Center was a cathedral of modern design, its glass and steel atrium soaring 3 stories high, bathed in natural light that danced across holographic displays. The corridors buzzed with activity. Booths showcased AI-driven robotics, virtual reality headsets, and sustainable energy solutions, while attendees swapped ideas over cans of energy drinks and artisanal coffee. The fundraiser was more than an event, it was a spectacle, a fusion of intellect and ambition. Panels debated the ethics of artificial intelligence, a DJ spun tracks infused with binary code, and venture capitalists mingled with wide-eyed startups, their pitches crackling with potential. At the heart of it all was Elon Musk, the linchpin whose star power had quadrupled pledges for tech education in low-income areas. He strode into the convention hall in a casual black t-shirt, his presence magnetic, pausing to high-five engineers and exchange quick banter with attendees. His aura was unmistakable, a blend of restless energy and unrelenting vision. Musk's keynote was quintessential Elon, audacious, forward-thinking, and laced with humor that drew laughter from the crowd. "The future isn't coming, it's here," he declared, gesturing broadly toward the sea of faces. "These young minds, the ones in classrooms with cracked desks and outdated books, they'll build tomorrow. Let's give them the tools to do it." The audience erupted in applause, their cheers reverberating through the hall. But those closest to him, his team, his confidants, noticed a fleeting moment of introspection. As he spoke, his fingers brushed against a dog-eared postcard tucked into the pocket of his jeans, its edges worn from handling. Earlier that morning, he'd been unusually subdued, foregoing his usual flurry of tweets for quiet, pensive stares out a window overlooking the valley. It was a side of Musk rarely seen, a glimpse of something deeper beneath his larger-than-life persona. As the conference unfolded, the energy in the hall was palpable. Musk moved through the crowd with ease, brainstorming with investors about neural interfaces, joking with a startup founder about the logistics of Mars colonies. "Timing's everything," he said with a grin, clapping the founder on the shoulder. The room pulsed with ideas, each conversation a spark that could ignite the next big breakthrough. Then came the interruption. A teenager, no older than 16, approached Musk, his event badge swinging from a lanyard. His posture was hesitant, his palms visibly sweaty as he navigated the crowd. "Mr. Musk?" he stammered, his voice barely cutting through the hum of the convention. "I need to talk to you." "It's urgent, sir." Musk's eyes narrowed, his curiosity piqued. He sized up the teen, noting the nervous determination in his gaze. "Make it quick," he said, his tone clipped but not unkind. With a nod, he followed the boy through a side panel, slipping out of the main hall and into a service tunnel that snaked beneath the convention center. The buzz of the conference faded behind them, replaced by the hollow echo of their footsteps on concrete. Minutes ticked by, 5, 10, 15, and Musk's absence became impossible to ignore. An executive leaned toward a colleague, her voice low. "He's just gone." Poof! Bloggers hunched over laptops, their fingers flying as they drafted posts, sensing a story that could go viral. Security teams mobilized, their earpieces crackling with updates as they searched the venue, their vigilance tinged with unease. The service tunnels were a stark contrast to the polished glamour of the convention floor. Cold, utilitarian, they smelled of oil and electrical wiring, their walls lined with pipes and conduits. The teen, whose name was Rico, led the way with surprising confidence, his earlier nervousness replaced by purpose. "This way," he urged, glancing back at Musk. "He's waiting, and he's really excited." Musk followed, his brow furrowed but his steps steady, intrigued by the mystery unfolding. They reached a utility closet, its door slightly ajar, revealing a small figure inside. A 9-year-old boy sat perched on a wooden crate, clutching a toy rocket in his hands, his eyes wide with uncontainable excitement. His name was Theo, and his smile lit up the dim space like a supernova. "You made it!" Theo exclaimed, his voice high and bright, practically vibrating with joy. Musk froze, his usual bravado slipping away. He glanced at Rico, then back to Theo, the pieces of the puzzle clicking into place. "Wouldn't miss it, champ," he said, his voice softer than anyone in the conference hall would have recognized. He stepped into the closet, and Rico gently shut the door, sealing them in a quiet, intimate space far removed from the chaos of the convention. Theo was a participant in one of the scholarship programs funded by the event, a bright but struggling student who faced the challenges of autism in a school system ill-equipped to support him. Months earlier, he had sent Musk a letter, a single sheet of paper covered in a meticulously drawn blueprint of a rocket, accompanied by a note in shaky handwriting. "You go to space. I want to design rockets too, but it's hard. People don't get me." The letter had arrived at SpaceX headquarters by chance, slipped into a pile of corporate memos and fan mail. But something about its raw sincerity had struck Musk, resonating with memories of his own childhood, when his quirks and relentless curiosity had set him apart. He'd kept the postcard, carrying it with him as a reminder of why he pushed so hard. Rico, Theo's older brother and a volunteer at the conference, had seen an opportunity to make something extraordinary happen. In the cramped utility closet, surrounded by shelves of tools and tangled wires, a connection formed. Musk crouched to Theo's level, his tall frame folding awkwardly in the tight space. Theo launched into a passionate explanation of his rocket designs, his words tumbling out in a rush of enthusiasm. He spoke of propulsion systems, orbital mechanics, and his dream of exploring the stars, his hands waving animatedly as he clutched his toy rocket. "I want to build something that takes people to Mars," he declared, his eyes fierce with determination. "Like you do." Musk listened intently, his usual rapid-fire demeanor replaced by a quiet focus. "You're already launching, Theo," he said, his voice steady and earnest. "You've got the spark. That's where it starts." Theo's grin widened, and he tilted his head, studying Musk with a mix of awe and curiosity. "Are you ever scared of failing?" he asked, his voice softer now, as if sharing a secret. The question caught Musk off guard, piercing through the armor of his public persona. To the world, he was fearless, a man who gambled billions on impossible dreams and won. But in private, he wrestled with the weight of setbacks, the pressure of expectations, the fear that even his boundless ambition might not be enough. "All the time," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Failure's the toughest teacher, but it's fuel. Every crash, every explosion, it's data. Use it, and keep blasting off." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small Tesla keychain, its sleek design glinting in the dim light. "For your mission," he said, pressing it into Theo's hand. The boy's eyes widened, and Rico, standing quietly by the door, wiped away a tear. The 20 minutes passed in a blur of conversation, a rare moment of sincerity in a world of polished presentations and calculated pitches. Theo shared more of his ideas, sketching imaginary rockets in the air with his fingers, while Musk offered insights, his words simple but encouraging. He spoke of his own early struggles, the times he felt misunderstood, and how he turned that isolation into drive. Theo nodded, absorbing every word, his confidence growing with each passing second. As their time drew to a close, Theo extended a small fist. "Thanks, Mr. Musk," he said, his voice steady now. Musk returned the fist bump, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Keep building, Theo. The stars are waiting." Musk emerged from the closet, his composure intact but his perspective subtly shifted. He rejoined the conference, slipping back into the main hall as if nothing had happened. Rico, overcome with gratitude, shared the story with a small group of organizers, and the news spread like wildfire. A hush fell over the crowd as the truth sank in, followed by an explosion of cheers that shook the convention center, a collective roar that felt like the ignition of a rocket bound for the cosmos. As the conference drew to a close, the innovators spilled out into the sun-drenched streets of Silicon Valley, the echo of those cheers lingering in their minds. True innovation, they realized, wasn't just about breakthroughs or bold proclamations tweeted to millions. It was in the quiet, unseen moments of connection that sparked genius in others. In the relentless rush of progress, it's the sidelined exchanges, in dim utility closets far from the spotlight, that forge the essence of the future. Musk's 20 minutes had belonged to Theo, a dreamer whose passion mirrored his own. And that was enough. Often, the brightest visions shine in secret, unnoticed, their impact rippling outward like a signal from a distant star. The conference had been months in the making, a carefully orchestrated event designed to bridge the gap between Silicon Valley's elite and the underserved communities whose potential remained untapped. The Apex Convention Center was chosen for its state-of-the-art facilities, its sprawling layout allowing for simultaneous panels, workshops, and networking sessions. The fundraiser's goal was ambitious: to raise enough to fund STEM programs for thousands of students, providing access to coding boot camps, robotics kits, and mentorship from industry leaders. Musk's involvement was the golden ticket, his name drawing sponsors and attendees from across the globe. His keynote was the centerpiece, a chance to rally the crowd around a shared vision of a future where anyone, regardless of background, could shape the world. In the hours leading up to his speech, Musk had been a whirlwind of activity, reviewing prototypes with his team, fielding questions from reporters, and scribbling notes on a tablet. But there was a quiet undercurrent to his demeanor, a pensiveness that puzzled his inner circle. His assistant, accustomed to his frenetic pace, noticed him lingering over the postcard, his thumb tracing the edges as he stared out at the morning fog blanketing the valley. The postcard was an anomaly in his world of sleek technology and corporate precision, a child's drawing, earnest and unpolished, that seemed to carry a weight he didn't articulate. The conference itself was a microcosm of the tech world's contradictions: dazzling innovation alongside cutthroat competition, lofty ideals tempered by pragmatism. Attendees ranged from starry-eyed students to seasoned CEOs, each drawn by the promise of inspiration or opportunity. The panels covered everything from quantum computing to the ethics of gene editing, while the exhibition hall showcased drones that could navigate urban skies and AI systems that could predict market trends with uncanny accuracy. Musk navigated this chaos with ease, his presence a gravitational force that pulled others into his orbit. He bantered with a group of coders about the potential of brain-computer interfaces, his laughter ringing out as he described a future where humans could think at the speed of light. But it was Rico's interruption that changed the trajectory of the day. The teenager had been volunteering at the conference as part of his scholarship program, tasked with shuttling supplies and guiding attendees. He'd grown up in a struggling neighborhood, watching his younger brother Theo wrestle with the challenges of autism in a school that offered little support. Theo's obsession with space had been a constant in their lives, his bedroom walls plastered with sketches of rockets and star charts. When Rico learned Musk would be at the conference, he saw a chance to give Theo something more than a dream, a moment of connection with the man who embodied it. Rico had planned the encounter meticulously, coordinating with a sympathetic organizer to gain access to the service tunnels. He knew Theo's letter had reached Musk, but he hadn't expected the billionaire to carry it with him, let alone agree to meet. When Musk followed him into the tunnels, Rico's heart pounded, a mix of fear and hope that this gamble would pay off. The utility closet was a last-minute choice, a quiet space away from the conference's noise where Theo could feel safe. Rico had prepped his brother, telling him Musk was busy but might have a few minutes. Theo had spent the morning clutching his toy rocket, practicing what he'd say, his excitement barely contained. Inside the closet, the world shrank to the three of them: Musk, Theo, and Rico. The space was cramped, its shelves lined with janitorial supplies and electrical panels, but Theo's energy filled it. He spoke with a clarity that belied his age, describing his rocket designs in intricate detail, the fuel systems he'd imagined, the lightweight materials he'd read about in library books, the trajectories he'd calculated on graph paper. Musk listened, his usual impatience replaced by a rare stillness. He asked questions, nudging Theo to elaborate, his tone devoid of the condescension that often crept into adult-child conversations. When Theo admitted his struggles, classmates who mocked him, teachers who didn't understand. Musk nodded, his expression softening. "I got that a lot too," he said. "Still do. You just keep going." The exchange wasn't just about rockets. It was about recognition. Theo saw in Musk a reflection of his own dreams, while Musk saw in Theo the raw potential he'd once carried, unpolished but unstoppable. The Tesla keychain was a small gesture, but to Theo, it was a talisman, a tangible link to the future he imagined. Rico watched in silence, his chest tight with gratitude, knowing this moment would stay with his brother forever. When Musk returned to the conference, the crowd was restless, their curiosity bordering on agitation. His reappearance was met with a ripple of relief, but it was Rico's revelation that transformed the moment. He shared the story with a small group of organizers, who passed it to the MC. As the tale spread, whispered at first, then announced to the hall, the room fell silent. Then, like a rocket igniting, the cheers erupted, a wave of emotion that shook the rafters. Attendees stood, clapping, some wiping tears, moved by the quiet act of a titan who'd stepped away from the spotlight to lift up a child. In the days that followed, the story took on a life of its own. Bloggers spun it into think pieces about leadership and empathy. Social media buzzed with hashtags like #MuskMystery and #KindnessCoded. But for Musk, the moment was private, a reminder of why he'd started this journey, to make the impossible possible, not just for himself, but for dreamers like Theo. And for Theo, it was a spark, a confirmation that his ideas mattered, that the stars were within reach. As the sun set over Silicon Valley, casting golden light across the convention center, the cheers lingered in the air. True innovation isn't measured solely in patents or profits, but in the moments that ignite potential in others. In the race for progress, it's the quiet, unseen exchanges, in cramped closets, away from the glare of fame, that shape the future. Musk's 20 minutes were Theo's, a gift to a dreamer whose passion echoed his own. And that was enough. The brightest visions often shine in secret, their light spreading far beyond the moment they're born.